What is up, Internet?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Headspace Podcast. I think it's episode 65. Yes, it is. And it's your boy, HSR.
And I am Prophetry Hip Hop. What is happening?
Yeah, and you'll notice Mr. Christopher Chrome is not with us. He had an apartment emergency requiring him to engage his full adulting mode, and he is dealing with that like a true growing up with all the admiration and respect. It's a zero sarcasm remark here.
Yes, it was an apartment emergency and not that I murdered him.
Yeah, that's it. So, police, you know what's up. On that note, let's do our housekeeping. You guys know what it is now. If you don't care about that part, in the description, you can skip ahead to the start of the episode. So we're going to read our favorite comment from last week's review when we talked about the Black Panther, the album soundtrack inspired music from thing. This comment is from White Boy Productions. I think this album was put together really well for a movie soundtrack. It feels like it could work as a standalone album aside from all the T'Challa and Killmonger references. I agree. I actually think that's one of the most impressive parts of that collection of songs is that outside of some of the more obvious it's Black Panther parts, it really is good enough to be its own thing, mostly because it was just like, hey, North America, Africa has bless-ass artists too, and that was really great for me to learn about.
Yeah, I agree. I find that that album was, as far as movie soundtracks go, it was pretty exceptional. So definitely does stand on its own.
So yeah, on that note, let's talk about comments a little bit more. If you do happen to leave a comment on this video describing maybe your feelings about the artist we're going to discuss, the album we're going to discuss, or just, us, and you like the video, like hit the like button. You don't actually have to. And then you subscribe to the channel, you enter into a fucking raffle because it's the grind to 1,000 subscribers contest. As you can see, we're at 809 as of recording this, and we're trying to make that increase. So if you do that, you enter into a raffle where first place gets a $100 Amazon gift card. Plus, you can request a review of something in particular with the people on the channel that you want to see doing it. So you get to have a little bit of customization in your life. Second place will get $50 plus the review that they request, and third place is $25 gift card plus the review. And if by some miracle in the 2 days after this comes out we hit that shit by February 20th, we will give away 2 extra $25. But it's not that likely because it'll be February 18th when this comes out. So we're being realistic here. But here's an up note. For every past video that you like and comment on, you get extra entries into the raffle. And spoiler alert, when this contest is done, there might be another grind to a higher number with higher prizes contest that starts immediately because we just want to, go to the next level and stuff. Okay, that's enough of that bullshit. The request list is also available in the description because I've read every single comment. We're compiling it all together. It'll be done in patches. It might be like I work for 2 weeks, pop off some shit. We wait a while and you do it again in a while. So that's how it's going to be. But that request list is going to be completely tracked and available. And as we do albums, we'll be posting the links next to it. And you can check out what's currently available now. I think that's enough of that shit. And Ryan, you've been super quiet. So why don't you do us all a favor and introduce this week's album?
This week's album is Victory Lap by Nipsey Hussle. I had not previously heard of Nipsey Hussle, although the name was very familiar, so maybe I had and it just didn't stick, or maybe I heard some features. But this was essentially my first conscious experience of experiencing Nipsey Hussle, and it happens to be his first debut studio album after a series of mixtapes over the last few years.
So I had heard the name, but never really heard the guy before this. So I Googled him and I looked him up a little bit, and I found out the most riveting fucking thing.
What's that?
He has something, I think it's like pay to play kind of thing. I don't remember what the exact name of the service is, but essentially his last mixtape, The Crenshaw, he dropped it at $100, right? Per copy, because it was a way of trying to kind of like how Wu-Tang was trying to increase the value of an album. So he said, look, if you want it, $100, and you got it like a day early in the physical copy of it, as opposed to say like the digital copy, that way you get hit for free. Now, what's truly incredible about this campaign, and just the love that this guy has in his following, etc., is he managed to sell off all of his physical copies, all 1,000 of them, at $100 a pop. Meaning that this motherfucker copped $100K in fucking cash off of this motherfucking just mixtape that he dropped and shit. And hats off to this man, because a man with that kind of business hustle, with that kind of an approach, I admire it. It's something where I look at it like this guy has something to teach me. So I can tell you that it made me very excited to hear this project. Another fun fact is apparently like this Victory Lap project was supposed to be dropped back in like 2012 or 2013 or something.
Oh crap, that's a
long
time.
So if you guys want to correct any parts of the story, I'm just saying, this is stuff I kind of learned today as I was like trying to acclimate a little bit to the artist. I might be a little bit wrong about this, but I got the impression that at least the bulk of this album, if not the whole thing, was ready back then. But he decided against signing with a major label and doing this as a mixtape, and decided this would be more of like his first real album as kind of like an independent or something. I don't know exactly that part. But he ends up going... I don't know how it ends up going from 2012 to 2018 exactly, but basically somewhere in that process, it kept getting supposed to be released. So I imagine there's a bit of anticipation for this album that I discovered after, and I was just kind of like, I just thought that was interesting. And part of me is kind of going, since there's not a shit ton of easy to find information on this, as in like the first 2 pages of Google didn't give me easy answers. Apologize. Sometimes I don't have the time to truly research some shit, but if you guys know what the fuck created this like almost 6-year delay between apparently the project being completed and this release, seriously, I'm just genuinely curious. I imagine you're curious.
I am.
Like, this is this is part of what we're doing it, and in the future I make the promise that we're gonna get to a place where we just know the answers instead of needing to ask you, so that we get better at this. But in the meantime, try to build up that community of knowledge sharing. So that's what I got on that, really. I don't know much about him. I know that his name is Nipsey Hussle, which is great. Victory Lap is the name of this project, and he's sitting in a car on that cover.
Yes, he is.
And you get the feeling that it kind of is like a visual representation of the celebration. Like, after all of this time, all of this effort, all of this fucking everything, there he is, holding up the glass in his car, and he's winning. And that's what it is.
I do really like the minimalism of this album cover. The car kind of blending into the black background with, just a little bit of text popping out in white and red. I think it looks quite good, and I also think it's kind of funny and in how well it matches to his music videos, in which I think he has 2 music videos for this project. Is that right, Holden?
Yeah. Well, at least the 2 we watched.
Right. So the 2 videos that we watched are full of cars, like cars everywhere. They're driving in a car. There's a car next to them. Look at how good this car is. So it's clear that Nipsey Hussle has a respect for motor vehicles by all of the ways that he chooses to insert them into his work.
It also could be that he perceives them to be a little bit of a status symbol.
Oh, it's 100%
displaying.
That. It's so that. Yeah.
Anyway, all I have to say, I know this guy has a lot of projects we didn't hear, and take that with a grain of salt. And we recognize our ignorance in this, and we are just trying to understand more, so that as time goes on, we can become proficient and proper rap critics who just have that cultural understanding, and we have better opinions. But it is a process, and we are learning together. So what say we jump into this motherfucking review? Let's talk about Nipsey Hussle's album opener, Victory Lap.
Last night it was a cold killing. You gotta keep the devil in his hole, nigga.
Mr. Prophetry, why don't you start us off in the new era of I Speak Last?
So Nipsey is telling us who he is. He sees himself as hard, as a go-getter who is on the grind. There's not a ton that stood out to me in terms of like lyrics or punchlines. There was one reference I really liked to The Wire, where he references we playing chess, not checkers, which is relating to the whole metaphor on The Wire of the king being the drug lord and then all of the pawns underneath him doing the movements. So it's a cool reference that I think fits quite well with him and on this track. As far as, the 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 sound of it, it's electric. There's occasional piano. His vocal performance is pretty distinct. It's one of the first things that really stood out to me on this track is how his voice sounds and how he delivers lines. And I really liked it. It's actually probably my favorite part of
May I just
this song.
interject something? Like, we've done a few reviews here now, you and I. This might be like the second time Mr. Prophetry has said that about a particular rapper, that his voice is just that profound, that it stands out like that. So that's an interesting comment. Anyway, please go on.
Yeah, it's a problem. I find it's very hard in hip hop because there's so much that sounds the same. And one thing he does very well is making sure his voice is distinct. And that's, I think, works really well for him, because even on the songs where I don't think he's at his lyrical strongest, he still sounds really great, and it still can make for really great songs. So yeah, as for this track, I don't have too much else to say for it. I liked it, but I also wasn't completely enthralled lyrically, so that took a little bit away from me. I gave it a 3.8.
I definitely like this song a lot more than you did. The first thing I got is, so a little bit of context. I've decided to try and maybe explain a little bit where I'm coming from on my review. So when I hear what I deem to be authenticity, I'm a little bit biased towards it. It always sounds a little bit better to me when I can just hear the authentic, raw passion and feeling.
Yeah,
and that's the first noticeable thing of why I believe Mr. Nipsey Hussle has that voice that it resonated with you. It's because you know that every word, every ounce of passion is pure in this man, and he is just spitting whatever, which to me is really cool. Now, his lyrics do have a certain word I'm going to skip at the end of some of these lines, but whatever. We playing chess, not checkers. 38 special for you, clever. See, bro, if you ain't live and die by the street codes. Okay. So he's identifying the gun and then right away to the street codes, already with the idea of chess and checkers, which you've explained a little bit. I can been through all these motions up and down like a seesaw. So he's relating that he understands this shit, and I can never view as my equal. Fuck, I want to hear your CD for. And I can only imagine then how many people come up to him with their fake ass crap, talking about a life that he lives that they do not live, wanting him to hear their project because of this, why, and that. And honestly, it's not what the verse was about, that little jab at the end. It was just a little jab at the end. And it was so eloquently placed. And it wasn't like he was just talking shit about whatever. He was talking about himself, expressing himself, as he said, and ended the line with a jab at fake motherfuckers in a way of like, why would you even think we would be in the same league? And you know it. And it's just like, as far as I'm going to say, one of the nicest ways I've heard that put, in terms of just the way he delivered it with his nonchalant fucking attitude of pure passion.
Yeah, I've got to add that I do agree with Holden that it's very clear that he comes across as quite authentic, and like right from the beginning you do get this sense. So I'm on board with that.
All right. Then there's a couple more quotables. I tried to find quotables in all of them. I felt he made it easy for me in most tracks. Last night it was cold killing. You got to keep the devil in his hole, but you know how it go. I'm frontline every time it's on. 100 proof flow, running, shoot, pro. 458 playing bulletproof soul. Every few shows, I bet I just buy some new gold. Circle got smaller, everybody can't go. And I just read the 48 Laws of Power, and maybe I'm just looking for it, but this guy understands power, business, how to be a boss, all sorts of shit. And it really reflects through the ideas that he has here, right? Being on the front line, being in charge, that's important. Being able to keep your circle small, expanding in an intelligent way, trusting few, all it is, it just shows his wisdom. And I always appreciate a guy that's trying to tell me how to hustle a little bit better in life. And so that made me really appreciate him right off the jump. I don't care if I'm the target demographic or this music's meant for me. I'm just trying to find the wisdom that this man is sharing with the world. Then you got lines like, eyes open, I can see it clear. They don't make them ball, none. They don't make them real. They don't make them where I'm from. Don't take it here. They don't see in due time. I be making mills. Bossed up in this game, I've been making deals. Get your lawyer on the phone. We can make it real. And what I love about that is that he's sitting there and he's just saying like, look, man, there's nothing personal here. Shit is just business, but don't waste my motherfucking time. If you can't lawyer up and get some shit to happen, that's what it is, bro. And I love that. I love how he's just in the way he's even choosing to interact with the people around him, or I guess us, the audience. He'll hang out with you, Prophetry, if you show up with enough stacks to make it worth his time or present him with the right opportunity. And that's the incredible thing about this guy, is what I'm starting to see, is that is an interesting way to look at him. I'd like to say, is you described the beat, I would call that beat fucking amazing. Stacy, Barthe does a little bit of singing on the chorus to break up nicely. It's nice when he has a little bit of females in there to balance him out. His bars is ridiculously fun to listen to. This is a 5-on-5. I was blown away by the realness of this track. Like, when I got into hip-hop, it was that West Coast gangster shit, right? That's what my first introduction to hip-hop, a lot of Dr. Dre, that kind of stuff was happening. And it was maybe like, you know, Tupac was always my favorite over the Biggie. So I feel like this kind of embodies a lot of the best parts of that real shit from that era of music, but also has some practical wisdom laced in. Like, he's not a stupid man. So I'm all about that shit. I can't help but love it. Anyway, that was my thoughts on that. If you have nothing else to add here, we can proceed to rap something.
Nigga. White boy in Manhattan, pay my tax, nigga.
Yeah, so on this track, we've got this trappy beat with a very West Coast Dr. Dre inspired kind of melody. And I really dig the sound of this track. Like, right off the bat, it's really catchy. Nipsey here, he's saying he's nothing like these other rappers. My impression was that it's mostly about him being kind of dangerous, like a shooter, with a gang background. And also, he's more successful or authentic. He's got like this one line that that stands out, and I find pretty funny. It was "White boy in Manhattan, pay my tax." These lyrics are sort of entertaining, especially in how he delivers them. But I also find that there's not a ton of content here I love. So while he does deliver a lot of this stuff with authenticity, it doesn't always hit. And I mostly just really love this track for the vibe that it has, with the mixture between his voice and the beat itself. I gave this a 3.9.
I had very similar feelings on this one. The beat is really good. The energy of the song is really good. It made me lyrically think a little bit about some of the UK grime stuff, or I guess those repetitious lines where, I mean, every line ends with the same word, and then he kind of rhymes up a little bit based off of that. And that's never just been my favorite style of song, and that's just kind of what it is in my world. But I did kind of liked where you're saying, like, the way he goes, "White boy in Manhattan, pay my tax. Drive down to the Hamptons to relax. I stopped smoking weed, then I relapsed. Traveled around the world and I came back. Worth a couple million, that's a fact. But I ain't nothing like you fucking rap. I own all the rights to all my raps."
Yeah, that was another good line.
I just gotta say, like, because a lot of this kind of sounds generic until he says that last part. Where he's kind of like, look, y'all are just fake. Y'all are whatever. But really, when it counts, I got what really counts going for me. Maybe y'all feel a certain way about a certain thing. Maybe it took him 6 years to drop his album, but he owns it. And that's interesting to me, right? Like, just the way he can, that's his real fucking diss of this track, right? To just other people. I own my music. I love that. This guy's a boss. I feel it again. But I agree with you that it's totally not my same kind of song. I have really nothing more to add. It's a great flow. But let me tell you something. If I was playing through this album, I am not skipping this, dude. No, sir. This is definitely a track that you would vibe to. If I was in my car, this is a cruise in your car song. That's how I feel about it. You got this vibe. You could like do some white boy wiggles to this shit. It's all sorts of goodness. But like lyrically, maybe not the most potent thing, but that's fine. Not every song has to be the most lyrically potent
Yeah,
thing.
totally.
So I give it a 4.25. It's not like my favorite track on this project, but I still find it to be a pretty awesome song. So last time I checked, that's what we do here.
City, it gotta be cuz. It's for the pieces I took off the Monopoly board. Hey, y'all niggas for.
So last time that I checked, this beat is hype. Like, again, another great West Coast sounding track. It's got this clap this heavy bass synth melody. At some point, I think triangles come in, and this trappy beat comes in later. But, the whole thing works quite well as a package. It sounds really great. Nipsey's also got this really great flow. There's times where he's, like, really on point, and he's talking about his reputation and describing all the things about him the last time that he checked. The last time that I checked, I am this, I am that. I've got to say, for the most part, the first verse was a little bit lackluster for me. There was one line in particular that stood out that I enjoyed, which is, "This for the pieces I took off the Monopoly board," which I thought was like, it's a pretty quirky way to talk about murder.
Okay.
But, I liked it. It paints a picture. The second verse I found, and third verse, I found a lot more interesting. There's a lot more content in them. In that second verse, he's got these lines: "The single mama's working hard not to miss a payment and get dirty money get washed on royalty statements. Black owners in this game are powerful racists." That's like some pretty heavy stuff, and it's something that I was like thinking about afterwards. Sometimes when rappers say lines that are like really profound, you're just like trying to figure out what they meant in particular by it. That was one of those lines, to the point that it distracted me from the lines that came right after it.
Okay.
But did you also like react to that one?
I did. In fact, I actually have the lines that came right after that.
Yeah, go
right
for it.
Here. Out the garage, young in the set that's doing it makeshift. Out of the garage is how you end up in charge.
Yeah.
It's how you end up in penthouses, end up in cars. It's how you end up on the curb server, end up a boss. It's how you win the whole thing and lift up a cigar, kind of like he is on his album cover in the car, with sweat dripping. I don't know if he has a cigar, but just kind of made me picture that. With sweat dripping down your face because the mission was hard. And I was just like, that's relatable. I don't even care what your grind is. That's some relatable. If you ain't feeling the pain of the work that you are throwing in because it was hard, it's not worth doing. You is no victory lap and shit. And so I dug that. I dug like how it's kind of like, in light of how the way it's all played out, you do need to end up in, like, these are it creates the circumstances that puts you into this stereotypical situation in order to fulfill it, if you consider the labels and stuff that are like pushing you into this whole like lifestyle on top of that. Anyway, I'm just speculating a little bit here. You can always provide us some more clarity in the comment section, as I know you folk like to do. But I really dug it. I felt that whole little part was super substantial to me, and it really did make me think, because it shows that he's not afraid to speak his truth and to say exactly what he needs to say. Anyway, go on if you have more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that was most of my thoughts. That third verse was also pretty strong, and also
by YG.
Yeah, who I don't think I'd heard of before. But he's got these. We on the way, and that's a fact. This real, this ain't rap. Where everybody want to act pro-black, and then in the background he's like, they don't really want to fuck with us. I was like, fuck, man. That's some heavy shit too. Made me think a lot about like the state of affairs in the world, and like I just trying to piece together exactly what he meant by that, what his life experiences had led him to think that way, and also like just like how that kind of thing impacts society. Like, it's pretty profound. It's really heavy stuff, and I really appreciated that. I appreciated not shying away from like heavy shit like that.
It's always interesting to me, not to cut you off, but just to see like real gangsters being real philosophical with their shit, right? Like to make sure that it's more than just your regular ass gang banging shit, which is I think a lot of the point of this song is, last time I checked, I'm the real shit and you're not, motherfucker, with a little bit of it, and you're not attached to it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I fucking dug it, man. I also liked YG's verse. I like when he said, don't fuck around and get played by these label owners. Talk that shit to these Adrian Brunner, but secure the win, though. Don't let the game fold over. Because when the game is over, it's really over. And all they do is play the game till it's this game over. And you be giving game like a big brother mission. Never let them take it from us. And he just kind of, I love the overkill of the word game there. It was well done. Everything made sense. But it really is like kind of implying when it ends, it fucking ends. And make sure you're still in charge, or you're kind of over, mother. Like, and it's just like real. Like, there's no fake shit here, and I love that. I think one of my favorite lines though for real was, last time that I checked, first get the money, then respect, then the power and the host come next. Last time that I checked. And that might be the realest shit in the whole fucking song. So I had to put that down. 5 on 5. Honestly, I love the beat. It's got that excellent, like, just fucking, you can picture a lowrider bouncing to it. I don't know. Everybody's amazing on this track. Everything thematically is great. Like, this is an amazing song.
Yeah, I gave this a 4.4. I also really like this song.
All right. Next up, we have Young Word.
Young, want your daughter, bring your sons with her. Young nigga.
So this track has a little bit more of a generic trap beat in my mind. This is kind of, I think, one of the first productions that maybe didn't get my head bobbing right away. It's fine, but I don't love it. Were you gonna say something? I feel like you wanted to.
Nope, I'm gonna wait.
Okay.
I have one grievance. Go on.
So as far as like the content of what they're talking about, the intro, there's this one line in the intro that I thought was kind of like a little bit entertaining, which was, I think they're talking about someone that's still on plan A, pussy on plan B. I just like the pun of like plan B, like the birth control, versus like plan B, your intention and what you have like designed for your future, right? I thought that was like a funny little wordplay that they slipped in, but it was pretty innocuous. It was pretty easy to miss. But then there was more content later on that I also enjoyed. I really liked this one snippet. Out the gate, lost count many days in the studio, we slave, but this shit we gotta save, staring in the space that you fishing for a phrase uninspired in your mind. Still, it's all a paper chased. First you overdedicate, then you notice that you great, and you been the whole time, then it slaps you in the face, then you stack it in your safe, got it cracking, it was fate. You the definition, laughing to the bank. Man, that was like a great set of lines. I really enjoyed it. What do you think about this track?
Puff Daddy is annoying. And he's credited as Puff Daddy on this one. So we're going with Puff Daddy.
Wait, what? He's back to...
Well, according to the way he was credited by Nipsey himself, as in like in the title of the track, it says Puff Daddy. Everyone else calls him Diddy or whatever his new fucking name is. I don't care. I'm calling him Puff Daddy for this song because that's how he appeared.
Yo, it's funny. You're right. I'm looking now, but at the same time, it still says Diddy
because that's how his Spotify account is set up and shit. So fuck that shit. So my biggest grievance is I felt like I was vibing to the song. Everything felt really nice, and then right around the end, Puff starts like ad-libbing and echoing and overlapping and almost drowning out Nipsey a little bit. I came here for the Nipsey. And his verse was really nice, and he had that same everything. Like, so far he was holding him through. But like, Puff threw me off so much by the end and then did the outro, and it just annoyed me. And that really, really hurt the song a little bit. And I don't know why he does that. I don't know why he just shows up and does ad-libs and stuff. Like,
yeah,
it didn't add any value to this track, in my opinion.
This was one of the ones that had a video, right?
I don't know.
I think it was.
No. It was the rap one that also had the video. The track 2.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
So yeah,
yeah,
no.
You're right.
Either way, there were some dope ass lines like gotta play the game, you gotta read the score. Read the score. See, I'm do the same, pop the clutch of the fort. Let's go. Come on, Puff, relax. Told me I want it, gotta hustle for it, get it. Only difference now, the money more mature. And I love that last part. He's doing the same thing he did back in the day, but the money more mature. Now, I just finished the 50th Law, and 50 Cent basically describes his life in 3 phases. Street hustler. He then proceeds to talk about his rapper thing, and then he talks about his business life. And in all cases, it was the same thing, but the money got more mature. So I thought that was a dope line that, again, shows, like, it's like he's communicating to bosses in some cases with the way he chooses his language, and I love that.
Excuse me.
I also dig, remember, I was on the run. Well, yeah, before you had a son, opened up the doors and kept it one, held down, and that was love. Nobody wanted to stand in front of judge. That's true, eh? Like, nobody, maybe you think of better days like when he was winning, standing on the couches in the club with us. We all in here, we gon' eat, whatever did he. But then I locked my shot. I had to run with it. And like, you just get the sense that he's a real dude. He's got his shit going on, and he understands this close thing and whatever. I dig it. I dig the overall feel to it. I did not dig Diddy. Daddy, Puff, whatever, and that's just kind of how it felt. I give it a 4 because the beat is pretty fun, and overall, it would have been better on his own there. That's fine. That's okay. This song is not as good as the next one though.
True.
Dedication, not the Wayne Project, but the Nipsey Hussle song featuring Kendrick, K-Dot, Kung Fu Kenny.
He frustrated, so he get faded. Like deep down inside, he know you can't fade him.
I have a musing question to ask. Is this Kendrick Lamar feature like now Kendrick, or is it like back in the day Kendrick? That's my question. I don't really know the answer because I only thought of it just now. Go on, Ryan. Tell us how you feel about this bad boy.
So this is an interesting song because it's one of the first tracks where I don't really love the production so much. It's very electronic-y and it's got some bass and ultimately it kind of fades into the background. Nothing sticks out about it. It doesn't sound super unique to me. And that's kind of unfortunate because on the other side of the coin, this is clearly the best song lyrically so far on the album. It's got one of the first lines I really liked was, look, this is dedication. This is anti-hesitation. Just like such a good choice of words to describe what dedication is. Anti-hesitation. That being said, so there was one line that I was kind of curious. I had mixed feelings about this. I want to know what the audience thinks, so comment below and let us know. What did you guys think about his line where he said, "This is the remedy, the separation, 2-pack of my generation, blue pill in the fucking matrix, red rose in the gray pavement"? I don't know, man. I feel really weird about someone like pointing at like a dead icon and trying to compare themselves to that person. I find that especially so recent. Is that just me? Does anyone else find that strange too?
I don't know. It makes sense that he would do it. Wayne did it. I mean, if your aspiration is to be the best, really, then, or if you feel that you are embodying the spirit of said dead person, like, I'm highly inspired by
fair.
George Carlin. He died far after Tupac died.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm trying to relate to you to show you who my inspiration is. So I go, call me the ghost of George Carlin, lyrics impersonator, and whatever, some bullshit like that. Same kind of thing. I'm the Carlin of this generation. Maybe that's how I see myself. Maybe I studied George Carlin. And I say that because I studied George Carlin, and I try to embody some of the spirit of his thinking in the way I approach my art. And so I think it really depends on I guess, respect. So I kind of get where he's coming from a bit. He has some of that passion that Pac has, that same high energy passion, the way that Wayne has that high energy passion. So if he was just like a chump saying it, I would feel a little more offended than by a guy who clearly, in spirit at least, tries to pursue the life of a Pac. Now, do I agree with him entirely? No. But am I bothered by him using it particularly? No. But really, I want to know what you guys think. My opinion's not as important as yours. You guys probably have a much better sense of justification. I've seen a few people make arguments on the net recently on this subject in different video series I watch. So I'm really curious to know what the audience thinks as well. So let us know, please, in the comments. But yeah, what else do you like about this one?
Quick interjection back to that same line again for a sec. I will say that he definitely does seem to be, the way he describes himself cut from a very similar cloth to Pac. So, right. I can't take that away from him. I just thought it was kind of...
Great question.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know. Also, he's got some other lines here that are kind of interesting, talking about how, he knows he's a genius. He just can't claim it because they left him no platforms to explain it.
Ah, it's such a good one.
He frustrated, so he gets faded. but deep down he knows you can't fade him. That's like, yeah, just like a lot of his lines here are really well said and eloquent. And it's probably because he's trying to keep up with Kendrick, right?
But just if you consider just the line right before it, young, black, trapped, and he can't change it is the line that precedes what you just said.
You're right. That's super
So
relevant.
I think it really, like, it adds that extra oomph of what you're trying to say, and you're right, it is very Kendrick-like.
Yeah, very fair. And then Kendrick comes on. Oh yeah, this is the reason why I thought it was peculiar in particular on this track. He's trying to reference himself as like this generation's Pac on the same track that he's rapping with Kendrick, which, you know, Kendrick would definitely be a contender there. So I don't know. That to me was just like another aspect of why I thought that line was strange. But Kendrick comes in, and man, he's got a great verse with a lot of really good lines. Some of my favorites were, "You take a loss, shit, don't cry about it, just embrace it. Minor setbacks for a major comebacks, that's my favorite." Man, that's a great 2-line like life philosophy. Like, if you're gonna lose, don't worry about the minor losses. Focus on the like major comeback. That's some positive thinking. Aside from that, you know, there's like a bunch of other really great Kendrick lines. I'm gonna let my friend Holden talk about those.
I don't know. I like the part where he goes right before what you said there. I spent my whole life staring at the stage, playing Sega, daddy smoking shim, mama playing spades, catching vapors. Grandma said, I get some Jordan for my grades. That's my baby.
Yeah,
when she died, my heart broke 100 ways. I spent my life trying to make it, trying to chase it. The cycle of a black man divided, trying to break it. You take a loss and blah, blah, blah. You just said there. That was really something to me, right? It really made me wonder. It kind of reminded me a little bit more of, say, the Kendrick that was doing more of to the Good Kid, Mad City Kendrick than a little more of a Damn Kendrick, we'll say. You know, we've heard a bit of new Kendrick recently, right? Didn't have that same kind of weird experimental tone he seems to be fucking with these days. It was a little more rappy rap, like rappity rap, as they say sometimes. I also, like, I dug the beat a lot more than you did. I thought it was really cool, but I'm also really into that weird production. So for me, that's not really a bad thing, because it wasn't like some generic shit. It was just like an experience to be had, which made me wonder then if it's a newer song, because the beat's kind of weird. Anyway, it's a good one. I did like the lines, "This ain't entertainment, it's for on the slave ship."
Yeah.
These songs just the spirituals. I swam against them waves hit. Ended up on the shore to their amazement. I hope the example I set's not contagious. Lock us behind the gates but can't tame us. Used to be safe. Now it's... it used to be stay safe. Now it's stay dangerous.
Yeah, those are also great lines.
And I'm just like... That last part, like, can you imagine, like, back in the day, the idea is to, like, protect yourself, to not put yourself into aimless danger, and now just to prove you're a motherfucker or anything like that, you must be dangerous, like, you wish danger upon people? That's some whack shit. That's some realities I don't understand, and that's why I love doing the show, because it forces me to challenge my conceptions of, like, everything I've ever known and be like, I don't know shit. I need to learn more, and that's why I love this stuff. It's fucking amazing. So this song... I thought the beat was a fucking hit. I love the rhymes. I love all 3 verses. I love the part that Kendrick was in the middle for once, and how like it was weird to see him in the middle with 2 verses around him. I don't know. I just don't see that format often. 5 on 5. It's fucking flawless. This song's a fucking banger.
I didn't like the beat enough to give it a 5 on 5. Unfortunately,
That's totally fair.
I'd give this one, I think, another 4 on 4. It's very well written.
To be fair, 4 on 4 and 5
Sorry,
on 5.
I meant
the same grade.
I was gonna say 4.4. Sorry, 4.4 on 5 is what I meant.
That's fair.
4 and 4.
It's the same grade as 5 on 5.
Oh, fractions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, there was one other line there that I don't think you referenced that I had wanted to mention. Yeah, royalties, publishing, plus I own masters. I'll be damned if I slave for some white crackers. Like, fuck. Yeah, I mean, it's that's smart shit, right? Like, he's talking about owning all of his own shit, making sure that he's making the majority of the profits off of his albums. Because if you go to, like, the record industry, those guys are going to, like, drain your fucking bank, and you're only going to get pennies to the dollar for what you're making, for your work. So it's a good point.
And you know what? I don't want to work for no white crackers either. I'm just putting it out there. I empathize entirely with where he's coming from. It's not like it's that different going to work for a CEO. My job is okay, and I don't have any complaints myself. That's not what I'm trying to say. But let's say when you look into the world of corporate America, it's just as dirty and awful to everybody. Like, they're just assholes, these dudes up top. So fuck it. Be an entrepreneur with some dedication, some passion. Slang content like dope and shit. Do your thing. That's all I'm trying to say there. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to move on. You have more to add here?
No, that's it. 4.4 for me.
Blue Laces 2.
Taste. Third generation South Central gangbangers that live long enough.
So, Blue Laces 2 is a track that has an interesting backstory. Holden, you want to tell us what that backstory is?
This is the very blunt and short version of it, but Nipsey here is boasting about a video that he saw online of LeBron winning a championship back in the day, like he just won, and they like catch him, he takes the headphones off, and you know what song is playing in the background off of his headphones? Why, it's Blue Laces 1. And so that means that LeBron, in his like celebration of joy and shit, was bumping his music. His mind was blowing, and then some bullshit about getting the producer to send him in last minute, make a part 2, we gotta have it happen, and then they banged it out last minute. If I'm not mistaken, it's the last track that was actually recorded for this project, but that could be just my memory being a little fallible. Still, it's an incredible thing to know that he saw this video of his song being listened to by one of his role models, I assume, or at least an incredible person, and it inspired him to make a part 2 and then put it on his Victory Lap project, because to him that was victory. All right, go on.
Yeah. Also, so this is something I didn't know. There's apparently a connotation to blue laces.
Okay.
Is that right? We were talking about this earlier?
I don't know, but I just assumed it was involved a little bit of a gang affiliation, but it was an assumption, not a factual thing. I don't know, but in light of how I've seen the colors reflected in his choice of music videoing, it was a little connect the dots that I made. I could be wrong.
No, but I think you're right, because I feel like Kendrick made a reference to something relating to his background in the Crips. But
if we're wrong, please feel free to let us know.
Yeah, let us know below what you know about Nipsey's background and if that has any bearing on this song or him at all. But yeah, anyway, this one I did not really enjoy the beat for. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really dig it. It was kind of slow and nothing really stood out to me or popped. It just didn't do it. The lyrics, there's some interesting lines. I particularly like the beginning of verse 2 where he says, "They killed Dr. Sebi, he was teaching health. I fuck with Rick Ross cause he teaching wealth. Dropped out of school, I'ma teach myself. Made my first mill my own, I don't need your help." Those are some pretty strong lines, especially, Dr. Sebi apparently was like back in like 2016, he was known as this Honduran who claimed to heal with herbs and diet, and he was arrested for money laundering in 2016, and then he died from pneumonia. But there's apparently skepticism.
It was all over my Facebook of the conspiracies and whatnot. I am not saying it's true or not that there are conspiracies, but the story is they took him out because he was trying to educate folk with alternatives to, let's say, pharmaceutical America, so they call it an assassination of sorts. Please go on.
Yeah. So there's skepticism about that, and anyway, I just thought that was like a very interesting, flavorful set of lines. Such an interesting contrast, and also there's something about like, talking about this person who teaches health, and then I fuck with Rick Ross because he teaching wealth. It almost in my mind like made it as though like Rick Ross is someone he looks up to as a teacher, right? And what an unlikely teacher you'd find in a rapper, and yet he's kind of like boldly coming out and saying, yeah, like I learned from Rick Ross. Yeah, those were the lines that really stood out to me. This song didn't really stand out to me. I gave this one a 3.8.
This one stood out to me. I loved it. I thought it was really strong right from the beginning. I liked the beat. I don't know. I know you didn't like it, but I thought it was amazing. But it had that like high energy thing. So I've noticed that there are certain songs on here where it feels a lot like he reps something and he has a super big point to like drive home with it, right? And I feel like in those songs where I really felt that, I was a little bit biased because we're right back into how I described at the very beginning, that authenticity, that passion, that something. It was right here on this one. I flashed back on that shootout at the beach, 20 deep. You tried to squeeze, your gun jammed, and they released. Blood on your tee, how many stains? I see 3. Fucking imagery right there, eh? Just describing this thing. It went bad. Shootout gone bad. The bitch started to panic, so I made her switch seats. Driving now, a police chopper ahead of me. Really not too spooked, calmly asking, am I dying now? All I know is keep you calm and collected. Cracking jokes like, you gonna finally be respected. Like, what the fuck? Like, they're in this scene with the cops and they're about to die and everything, and the last thing they're going like, yo, Hollis will be respected. We'll go down in hood history. Like, fuck. Again, reality blowing away when I hear shit like that. Too real. In a good way. I want more real like that. I'm gonna die. All us dumb because our culture is contagious. Third generation South Central gang banging. Had lived long enough to see it changing. Think it's time we make arrangements. Finally wiggle out the mazes. Find me out in different places. I like that. I like that he realizes that he has to go see some new shit to like see some changes happening. But unfortunately, it's a third generation of the same kind of problems in his reality, and that's again not something I can so relate to. But we done took a dream and turned it to a zenith. Anything I want and everything I needed. Gotta pace yourself, and it's all about your breathing. You can have it all. It's all about your reason. I done took my name and carved it in cement. I love that last little line. Like, he wanted all, like, what he wants more than anything else is to be eternal. After all that, he wants to be everlasting and shit. And it's just the passion that this man has. 5 on 5. This song is beautiful. This is what I want more rappers to be like. You know what? You can rap about anything, really. But if you rap about anything with the passion that this man raps about his reality, it doesn't matter if you say the same thing other people have said, as long as you can say it in a way that makes you fucking authentic and shit. This is an amazing song. That's cool. Let's talk about hustle and flow. Motivation.
I like this one so much. The first of all, the beat just right off the bat, you're like, oh, this sounds familiar. This sounds, oh, it's a hard knock life.
It's a hard knock life.
And it's so well produced. It's got this like both bassy effect at the same time.
It's a little
as that
slower,
melody
right?
soft.
Like, am I crazy, or is it a little slower than like when Jay-Z did it, or is it like the same?
You might be right. I am not sure.
Right. You can let us know. I didn't really check it. I know it's an easy thing to check. I just didn't.
But it's clean as fuck. And then just the way he delivers this one is stand out, like right from the beginning. It's like really, really sharp delivery. And he starts up, pull up in motorcades. I got a show today. It's all I'm trying to do. Hustle and motivate. Chop is a throwaway. Hustle the hove away. Man, it's like, oh yeah, sorry, that's why they follow me, huh? They think that I know the way. Yo, it's like, oh, there's so much flavor there. He delivers it so well. Just this idea of like showing up to a show in motorcades because he's so fucking famous, he needs to have like an entourage of like escorts protecting him. And at the same time referencing Jay-Z, who he obviously is inspired to make this track from, because Jay-Z did It's a Hard Knock Life first. And I just love that. What a great intro. He's got some more good lines in this one, too. In the second verse, he says, hit by the rules like a fucking ref. I got respect in like 100 sets. Too many chains need another chest. Which is like, just like, It's like one of those like fucking kind of like dumb, but like in a good way. Like that's
No,
very
but you gotta
entertaining.
add in playing no
Oh,
games
you're
if
right.
it wasn't
If it
chess, because it
wasn't
just
chess.
adds
Yeah.
right that extra element to that one line.
Yeah, totally. Those are some great lines, and it's just a great energy in this track in general. I really liked it. I gave this one a 4.3.
So yeah, I felt very similarly. I felt the beat was kind of a little grating after a while, because I mean it's a good beat. I'm not trying to shit on the beat. I don't want to attract haters. It's just not my favorite beat in general. It's more like a nostalgically classic beat, so it was fun. But his rhymings were insane. Like, back in this bitch like I never left. Stand for some shit that you never rep. Passing through stages in life, through the ups and the downs, like it's all just another test. Hit by the rules like a fucking ref, etc. And then he goes into that. But like that whole part there, it's like you really just get the sense like he flosses so well. Like sometimes I don't like it when a guy flosses. Like I don't want to hear certain people fucking being braggadocious. But when Nipsey brags, I want to hear him brag because I believe him. I believe he's allowed to talk shit. He has earned the right to do so, and it just sounds good. And you hear the confidence and not shallow arrogance in it, and you hear the difference, and I love that. But yeah, like that's why they follow me, huh? They think I know the way because I took control of things, bobbing the solo way. And if you counter my trend, I make you my protege. Interesting, right? Like if you try to counter me, I make you my fucking bitch. Slouch and Av soldier race, don't know them days. Take you in back of buildings, make you expose your age. Take you across the tracks, make you explode a face. Now you official, but you got a soul to save. And that was like whatever. Like he took this guy, forced him to do some stuff, forced him to become real, like real. But he lost his soul in the process. Holy shit! Like, oh, like it takes me as like a creative person. It takes me as a person that thirsts for authenticity in this world, and it just satisfies me in the deepest way. This is some real shit. 4.5 on 5 for this track. I really like it. I'm really enthused. This is one of my favorite projects we've done so far. This is already like maybe even a contender for album of the year, at least in my top 10. It's already like this is one I'm gonna remember when we're putting that together because this is some real shit. Look, man, if Nipsey wants to talk about some status symbols, I'm even willing to listen to that, okay?
I have some mixed feelings about this one. Partially it's because I have mixed feelings about the beat. At some points I like it, at some points I'm not so sure. I feel like this is like a really nice one to vibe on in the background. But when I'm kind of like actively focused on it, I don't know. It just seems a little, it's, I don't know. It's a little trappy and it's lacking a little punch again. It's kind of like, yeah, I don't really know how to say it. As far as like the content of this song, there was a line that I really liked, or there was a series of lines here. I ain't trying to preach. I ain't trying to lecture. When you make your first million cash, you're gonna feel the pressure. Just wanna feel the thrust, wanna feel the texture, wanna feel the drop top breeze, wanna feel successful, wanna change the game, never chase a message.
Never stop grinding, cherish no possessions. We ain't get accepted, we just reinvested. Boss shit. Go on.
Yeah, it's great. That, you know what I think? Okay, it just clicked in my head. So it's the verses are like really, really strong lyrically. And I think those are some of my favorite parts as far as the lyrics go. But then it switches up. And during the like pre-chorus and the chorus, it's like a little bit, I'm not like super into that lyrical section, kind of like talking about like driving through the city and doing drugs and trip and smoking and like it's like not that interesting. But on the other side of the coin,
where you are.
But on the other side of the coin, that's fair. But on the other side of the coin, I fucking love the beat at the hook. I think that's where the beat might be the best. So that I think is why I'm a little conflicted with this track. But there's a lot of great content here, and it is pretty easy to like vibe to in the background. So I'd give this a 4.
I liked it. So when I thought about that like singy part, I feel similarly. It's totally not my favorite choice that he did. I never really dug that idea, but it does have a swag to it. You can't take away
Yeah,
the
look,
fact that
that's
it has
true.
its own thing to it.
That's true.
It doesn't sound like generic. It's not like, oh, I heard this a million times. No, in fact, it just sounds like this guy was out there smoking by himself in the car, and he got so caught up in the moment, he nearly forgot why he was in the car in the first place.
Can I quick interjection? This is one thing that I do have to say is that, like, there's a number of moments, and maybe this one included, where Nipsey Hussle does this thing that I think maybe the other rapper who comes to mind who did this pretty well is Sci-Hi the Prince, where he takes topics that are actually pretty generic, and then he'll find a way to add a new spin to them that's a little bit different and unique. So,
like, as an example, no dope on Sundays.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I also really dig the lines, like, always had the passion. This a classic, and the way you said classic reminded me exactly of that big Crit skit about classics, and it's classic.
Yeah, I did too. Me too.
Anyway,
That's exactly what I thought.
But how he came from nothing, went and got established, living like a savage, trying to make some magic. Everybody's stalling, trying to take the sandwich. You know what? A little bit of a spoiler. I do feel like this is a bit of a modern day classic on City Choose. So you know what? Fuck that. I'm giving it to him. I agree with the sentiment he's trying to put in here, and I feel the energy. And maybe there's a little bit of, like, if you believe it's a classic, it becomes a classic, and you create the quality of music that should be there. But I don't hate when he calls himself Tupac. I don't hate when he says it's a classic. I feel like he's right on point as he's getting into the spirit of things. I'm okay with all this. Another leader move. I was never scared to stand front line with Mac 10s, raise and shoot at black men, but never felt the satisfaction. When I seen the game collapsing, guess they took the rules and whacked it. Started moving at a different frequency, and it got me living lavish. So when he was firing on his own people, when he was living that, let's say, negative life, it never satisfied him. It never gave him anything. So he flipped shit up, did something a little bit different, and finally got the lavish things he was looking for in the first place when he was doing the black on black violence and stuff. And I appreciate that he's willing to say he lived a certain way, saw it was a bad way of living, and changed. And that's what people need to do in life. And the fact that he has that wisdom consistently throughout this album, I love it. It makes me respect this guy so much. 4.25 on 5 for the song.
Super fair.
Because it does have so 4.25 because it does have like that little bit of generic, like not generic, it's not the right word. It has that little bit of I don't like it as much on the hook. And maybe it's not my favorite song, but come on, it's good. It's fucking still worth listening to. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Not to say that my opinion isn't Succa Proof. I mean, it might not be because I'm a bit of a sucker sometimes.
I fucking love this song.
Do you?
Well, I love the beat. The beat is, I find, really catchy. It's got
Agreed.
that, like, really weird, like, kind of, like I don't know what that is exactly. It's probably a synth, but it's very catchy, and, like, the drums suit it very well, too. As far as, like, the content goes, it's the kind of, it's, like, a little similar to the last one where, like, like, the hook is all about kind of, like, being flashy and repetitive, and that's lends itself well to hooks. So, like, no judgment here. But nothing there really caught me. However, I really love that second verse, and it's a pretty short verse. But like, I don't give a fuck how you feel. I can tell the fake, I can tell the real. Got a purple heart out in the battlefield. Now watch me levitate to 100 mil. Fuck a pound. Fuck a pill. I negotiated a better deal.
I just wanted to
emphasize, yeah. And then take a life for I take an L. Time to even out the playing field. Yeah, I don't know. That whole verse is pretty excellent. But that even the
Agreed.
purple heart out in the battlefield in particular, right? The purple heart is, I believe, the medal awarded for courage, acts of extreme courage and bravery. So it's kind of like he's describing himself as a soldier from the street, which is quite poetic, and he did it very succinctly in just a few words. I enjoyed it. This was like another one that was like I found fun. I gave this a 4.2.
I like the hook. I know it was repetitive and Kalah, but it was just kind of like a little bit like, what? You can be a sucker because I'm Succa Proof. I'm better than you. You can't even hurt me. And that's what he conveyed through the hook. And
Yeah.
I hate it because when he does it, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
When other people do it,
That's fair.
So I don't know. Maybe it's a degree of hypocrisy, but I find the longer we go into like reviewing albums in general, that like my original standards of what I thought was good and bad are just fucking out the window. It's now if this guy says it, it's okay, and if that guy says it, it's not okay. I can't justify it further, but he gets away with things that I might not let other people get away with.
Well, one thing you've got to admit, right, is that this guy has a lot of authenticity. So it's the kind of thing where like he earns your respect by
Like, I
virtue of
imagine
being so honest.
He did quite well with the ladies, I would imagine. But you quoted like the one of the main quotables I found. The other one I dug was bought latex gloves. That's no Prince now. If you broke bread, you got chip now. Couple things you can't buy inside this town. Loyalty, love, and respect, and will extort you out your check. I'm just like, oh, real shit. Like, this dude gets life. Like, this guy just sees the strings. Like, look, if you ever come across people that spit shit that sound like that, those motherfuckers know what's up, is all I'm trying to say. I gave this track a 4 on 5, though, because it really kind of felt like a little bit like a lighter version of some of the earlier songs on the album. Like the rap word, and then the other, like, fuck this, I don't know, whatever. So, like, it kind of felt like a lighter version of those tracks, but it was still enjoyable. But it was, like, the first one where I really felt like maybe this one didn't 100% need to be like, if this wasn't on the album, I would have been okay with it. But not to say that it took away from the album, but it also didn't really enhance the album for me.
Right.
Anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. So, Keys to the City 2 would be the next sequel on this album.
I've been grinding all my life. Look, I'm married to this game. That's who I made my wife. Said I die.
So this is apparently a sequel to another song.
Keys to the City, I think it's called.
Yeah, and I guess he makes a lot of sequels because this is the third sequel now on this album.
Maybe a second that I noticed. I don't know if it really.
Because there wasn't there. There's Blue Laces 2.
Blue Laces 2 is definitely one.
And there's something 3, I think.
Oh, you're right. Status Symbols 3.
Yeah,
you're correct.
So he's very fond of making sequels, and I'm actually now kind of interested in what the earlier songs sound like and to what extent they relate. Like, is it like a narrative that changes, or is it kind of like a track that, you know, he's just like he's rewriting and it's got like a similar theme? If you guys are Nipsey fans, let us know in the comments below. Have you heard the other tracks, and how does this one relate? How did the other ones relate? That would be something that I think we'd both be interested to know about.
Yes.
As far as this song, you know, I don't love the beat, but I do appreciate its minimalism. There's something really nice about having that, like, it's a lot of air. It's like really good for rapping, for having vocals over. You've got like that trap sound. You've got this kind of ambient melody in the background, and then you know, there's like some other little sounds, but there's not very much going on. It didn't stand out a whole bunch, but I think it's fine for rapping, and I definitely believe that Nipsey Hussle used it to the best of his abilities. The hook, I quite enjoyed. I got the key to the city. I got a hoe that's a ditty. Talk to that bitch in Swahili. Tattoo my name in graffiti. I like just that whole sequence. There's something about like the words he's rhyming. They're slightly unlikely, but they sound pretty good, and the way he delivers it is great. The first verse I was not as impressed with. The one line that did stand out to me was the "No cheddar bobs round here," where they're, you know, it's like a reference to 8 Mile, to Cheddar Bob, who shot himself in the leg. Which,
great line.
It's a great line.
He's essentially saying we're real.
Yeah. But then as for the rest of it, you know, Nipsey Hussle does a good job. Another line, life of crime till I get the chair, Columbine in my trigger hair, still I rise and I took the stair, feel the fire, it's a different glare. That's pretty heavy, this idea of like, life of crime till I get the chair, Columbine in my trigger hair. It's like this sense of guilt and remorse over the things he's been responsible for in his past, and how, you know, he can feel hell's fires beneath him, kind of thing.
Right.
It's pretty strong imagery. I really like that. yeah, that's what really stood out to me about this. I didn't like, super love this track musically, but I really liked him. I feel like that's also kind of like, it's a weird trend with this album because it seems to flip flop back and forth between me like loving the beat but not always being super hot on him, and then being like, oh man, he's like super dope. And anyway, I gave this one a 4.
That's fair. I liked it a little more. Lyrically, again, I don't think it's the most profound or prolific one. It's a little bit flossy, a little bit like kind of what it is. What's the guy's name? TeeFlii. He's alright. He does that first verse, a little bit repetitious, but in a good way. Like, he repeats himself, but the way he does it, like, adds emphasis in like a fun way. In the way that like J-Rock did on the Kendrick Lamar album last week, that you and I thought was nice and whatever. So that was cool. And so I kind of got that same sense of how he was approaching the verse, and I liked it. You quoted the Cheddar Bob line. It was definitely noteworthy, and it made me really realize Eminem had a lot of influence in the vernacular in light of that. But I liked Face is swollen, some I'm dripping tears. You should know I never had a fear. You should know I never had a shot, never had a chance, still I took it here. Manage pride, but I see it clear. Strategize, I'm an engineer. Pick a side, gotta keep it there. Switching up, looking weird. I'm like, all right, that's great, man. Like, and it really like fits the realness, the authenticity I've been liking on this album. And I like the fact that like he just seems to want to take control, want to own his shit and move and advance, and I empathize with that still. Anyway, I give it a 4.5 because it's not really a song that's meant to be like the same level of heaviness. It is meant to be that lighterness, and in light of its placement on this album, I think it was really well put to like take you into a more airy, coasty direction. So I felt that. But we never even talked about how the beat changes on some of these songs. A few of them had outros where the beat would just like flip up in the last 40 seconds. So it wasn't just like a loop like Dr. Dre would do for like 45 seconds of the beat for 45 seconds. No, it would be like it changes. And in this case, if I'm not mistaken, the third verse or whatever is completely different. Like it's a whole new track a little bit. And then, so that last little verse is its own little experience, and then it kind of, and then it flips directly into the next track, as though that were almost like a second part to this song, and it's like a little bit of a 3-beat salad type thing. So anyway, that was pretty cool, and I thought worth noting. And so the next one is Grinding All My Life.
I've been grinding all my life. Look, I'm married to this guy. That's who I made my wife. Said I die.
Yeah, this one is like catchy. There's something about this one that
got that feel to it where you can just clap along.
Yeah, totally. It's got this kind of like synthy melody in the background as the beat's going down, and it there's something about it. It sounds like it fits quite well with the topic, grinding all my life. You can like really feel the sense of him like just grinding it out. The hook is super, super catchy and like easily gets into your head. Grinding all my life. I've been grinding all my life. He's also got like some pretty interesting lines in some of the verses. Which one was it? Like his first line, I'm married to the game, that's who I made my wife. Yeah, like that's some pretty strong commitment. But dang it, man. Which was the... Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. County jail fades. You can pull my file yourself. Spot raids, swallow rocks. I'm getting high myself. That one line there, it's stuff like that really shows his authenticity, right? Because he's like throwing out there, he's like, hey, like, county jail fades, but you can go and pull my file yourself. Like, I'm real. I lived this life. And you can check if you want to. And that's the kind of thing that like, cause you get the sense that there are so many like fake gangsters posturing because they think they can make it big if they like pretend that they were about that life. This guy like really, something about it, something in his authenticity really screams it. And it's just like Sci-Hi the Prince, where he was like very, very, very humble and very straightforward in telling you like, this is my history, this is where I come from, like good and bad. As for there was another line that I quite enjoyed, which was in the second verse. But why don't you talk a bit, Holden, while I find that line?
I don't know. I feel like the track's alright. It has a good energy to it, and it's really a song about energy. And I don't know. There's a couple lyrics I dug. Like I don't like the kind of like encompassing the one you quoted there. I don't know what like myself. I say self-made, meaning I designed myself. Then the county jail fades. You can pull whatever, but I love that. Just the idea of I designed myself. Like it isn't like I made all the money. It's I invented the person I am today. Or like spot raid, swallow rocks, I'm getting high myself. You damn right, I like the life I built. I'm from the West Side 60, shit I might got killed. Like considering where he comes from to where he's at now, he's fucking proud of himself. You feel that confidence and oozes and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you found your line.
Yeah, so it was LAPD on my dick, I'ma squeeze and bust. If a rap diss, Swiss cheese and bust. That was like, it's just a funny thing because like when he said it, I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh, Swiss cheese, it's full of holes, right? He's talking about like blasting holes through someone,
Right.
And I just thought that was like a really clever, imaginative way of saying that. I don't think that this track has like tons and tons of lyrics that really stand out to me and really speak to me narratively, but there's little snippets like that I do find really interesting, and it's just so damn catchy that I think I'd give this one a 4.5.
That's fair. I also really dug the line. I got everything I said I was going to get on my kid, in addition to the fact I went legit. I'm the shit. Now, according to the way I'm positioned in this Benz, I look like I'm just going to keep getting rich. And I could see how he just has a great career after this, and it all just feels real to me. I give this a 4 on 5. I don't have a lot more to add. It doesn't feel like it was the most substantial song. It just felt good. It was a good good song that does what he does on it, and I felt the vibe. That's okay. But I don't have this, and he has a million while he was young, and that's just truth.
Before you sold the sack, dealt with all the pressure, played it like you never noticed that.
So this one, I'm feeling the beat a little bit less. But that being said, he comes right in and like his vocal delivery style is so dope, so crisp. There's something about it. It's like really distinct. I'd recognize him in an instant if I heard him elsewhere. So that drew me in right away. And, a lot of the stuff he's talking about here, it's not, like, super appealing to me. But then he gets to the hook, and I do really like that hook. I would rather shoot before I run. Pressure on my shoulder weigh a ton. You should try to do what we done, make $1 million while you young. I mean, like, the first two of those lines in particular, I would rather shoot before I run. It's like, fuck, man, I can't even imagine what the fuck it's like to come from that kind of life and background. That sounds fucking brutal. But I guess it goes to show you what he's lived through and where he comes from and how he's gotten to this point. That was what really stood out to me. What do you think about this?
I liked it more than the previous one because it has almost a point to prove. He's like, say whatever you want about whatever you want. We made $1 million while young, and fuck you. And that is a very interesting way to look at it. He accomplished this crazy accolade and it unlocked a certain degree of everything in his life. And unless you're even in that club, how is your opinion even relevant? So that's what I took even from the fucking title and the general premise of the way he drilled in that hook there. So that was pretty cool. There's plenty of lines I really dug, like "Where Your Cuban Links At?"
Oh yeah,
that's
true.
a good line. It made me think of that album.
Is it by Raekwon?
Only Built for Cuban Links. Where your Cuban links, where your rollies at, where your big booties and bad bitches, staple posters at, where you hustle when you run from the police at, where you ever represent a hope where you ever represent a hope where the hopeless at, where you had to take an oath or you sold a sack, dealt with all the pressure, played it like you ever noticed that, amongst it all, put yourself on the map. And that's kind of describing some of his context again, but he's asking it in a questioning, like interrogating, like, have you lived any of these experiences, describing his own through this kind of cool questioning way.
Yeah.
But the most, like, before you had to take an oath, like, to a gang or whatever, before you sold a sack. Fuck, like some real shit. Also, like, I can tell you how I came up. Similar to climbing out the grave, huh? Can't be acting like a bitch trying to get saved, bruh. Get that dirt up off your shoulder. Step your game up. Can't be chasing pussy. Switch your ways up. Can't be fucking off your Lucci. Gotta save up. You just see him. He's just shelling out wisdom the whole album. Like, this guy wants you to succeed as well. He wants you to just live up to your word. Live by your rep, as I think the 3-6 Mafia folk said. Anyway, good shit here, man. 4.25. Not my favorite beat or anything, but I do love the energy and the feel of this track. I can tell you that Nipsey Hussle here has the loaded bases.
2 kilos on my neck like the fucking 80s. West Side Slauson Ave, know my.
You know, coming in right off the bat with the name of the song in his first line, loaded bases, that's my motivation. Feeling lucky, we should go to Vegas. 2018 mode of transportation got me feeling over anxious like a home invasion. Those are some pretty strong starting lines, especially since correct me if I'm wrong, I think that he's referencing like the Vegas shooting. He put the year 2018 in right afterwards, which made me a little bit more confident in that. But I'm not 100% sure. He like loaded bases, that's my motivations. Feeling lucky, we should go to Vegas. It's like a double entendre, possibly.
Maybe. I haven't really thought about it. I don't know.
Anyway, it's just a thought. I also really love that hook and just like playing with this like metaphor, taking it as far as they can go. Listen to my ambition because I'm on one, swinging for the fences for the home run. Even further beyond into the universe, but I gotta make it to first. It feels like every second is being stolen. I risked it for every ticket we sold them. You got the ball, I'ma take it home. Bottom line, I'm gonna make it home. Man, it fits so beautifully with the theme of this song, and I love that. I really, really, truly love when artists put forward the attempt to take a theme and really carry it like from beginning to end, and that hook does a really good job of that, I find. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally noticed like he kept the consistency of the metaphor. It was loose, like it wasn't like whatever. But like he made several little baseball puns here. You know, like the bases are loaded, he's up, he's ready to go. I was okay with this song. First of all, it must be said, CeeLo on the hook. Worth noting, he got CeeLo Green on the hook, so it's just worth noting. I liked him. He had a really cool like accent, almost like he almost like was trying to be a little bit more Caribbean with the way he delivered that. I felt, or something was a little different than I was expecting from him. But I dug it. I really felt CeeLo added a lot here. There's a few lines I thought were cool. Like, look, I was sitting on my Lincoln. I started thinking, I ain't gonna make 100 mil off in these streets, and more than likely, I'm gonna end up in somebody's precinct. Even worse, horse and carriage from front the church, laid off in a hearse. I dealt with it. I ain't just out here with my health with it. I weighted risk and reward and seen the scale tipping. I was like, that's some heavy shit. On par with the rest of this album. Basically, like, he's pensive. Like, I can't even make the money I want to make doing this hustler life. I have to find better ways to pull it off because it's never going to happen. And that's just really interesting to me. Or, see, it's a couple every generation. I wasn't supposed to make it out or decode the matrix. And when they get to speak, it's like a code of language. Reminds it ain't strength in all this stolen greatness. And I find that interesting. Like, only a few people ever really get to unlock these secrets, and he just feels he's one of them. And I think he is, based on what he's had to say for a lot of this album. So I give it a 4, though, because, look, I mean, as much as it was a profoundly interesting song, as the man has proven the whole way through he can be, beat-wise, not as much as my favorite.
Yeah,
energy-wise, not as much as my favorite. So, yeah, 4 on 5. It's still a great song for what it is, just of this album, it's one of my least favorites.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I'd give it a 3.8. It was not my favorite beat either.
All right, so there is one more we're going to talk about tonight because we decided not to add on those deluxe songs. So we are going to take the album, as its real album, as the real big album it is. I guess the smaller real big album.
War, that's where my awards go. Running from the law till they foreclose.
Cool. Real big. Yeah, so this one has like a pretty... It's interesting. The beat feels very well catered to the vocals in this one. It's not an overwhelming beat. it seems like they're trying to, use it to just flavor the tone that they want to deliver with the lyrics themselves. So in the hook, Nipsey says, real big, I knew one day I would do it real big, real shit, I knew all my real, feel this. Nighttime, locks on, can't even see the stars, but we still wish. Real shit, who would have ever thought we would build this? Kind of like this nice victory lap song for ending the album on. And he's got some pretty great lines on this one in the verse. In that first verse, trying to walk to school, get your jaw socked. Trying to pump your gas, get your car shot. Large profit margin on the long shots. 'Cause young rarely make it off our block. Nighttime, locks on. What was the other? There was another line here that was really good. No, maybe not. Maybe it's in the second verse. I'll find it afterwards. But it's this song is I find it's a perfect ending to this album. It does quite a good job of wrapping things up, and it really kind of solidifies this sense that this project seems to be very, very conscious, very aware. And what strikes me about this project so much is how much in my head I just compared it to Sci-Hi the Prince, because I don't actually know that they sound the same. It's more they seem to have a very similar message and similar background.
You mean real rap coming back?
Yeah, real rap coming back. But I mean, these are two guys who've lived through some dark ass shit, right? And they are trying
they're both early 30s. They're both around the same age, 32, 33. He's 32. I think Sci-Hi's 33 too. So they would have both been 80s babies having to deal with that shit.
Do you think that that their age has something to do with the maturity of the message?
Yes, absolutely. I'm 30 now, and I appreciate this in a way I probably wouldn't have 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm looking for, and they know how to speak the lingo. Look, there's the street code, and then there's the wisdom code, and these guys are more on that wisdom game, and wisdom's a pretty universal thing.
Yeah.
Based off of common sense and shit like that, which isn't so common, and you learn it over time. So I think that guys in your 30s, you start to want to give back. You start to want to share that. You want to help those kids avoid some of the dumbasseries of your youth.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. What did you think of the song?
I really was okay with it. I've noticed, it was a lengthy song with a lot of production switches up at the end. I wasn't as into the singing part, so once Marsha kicks in for a minute, it kind of sounds like some echoey effects, and she does her little verse, echoey effects. Nipsey sings his part on the hook. And speaking of him singing, I love his little commentary here where he goes, sold out shows, that's a door display, ain't show up, that's a forfeit, left my record label just to get more rich, I switched it up, that's me singing on the chorus. But still, I spit bars so gutter, drive cars, no stutter, top floor, no clutter. And it's I love the fact that he's look, I adapt, I grow. Yeah, now I go ahead and I do these choruses, but yo, I'm still real. And yeah. I love it. I love the energy. I love the almost fun he has in it. But the song is a little bit lengthy, and I've noticed this trend in almost everything we've reviewed lately in the last 2 weeks on rock, anything. The last seem to be a little bit of a banger or lengthy, or maybe more on the rock side, but I'm wondering if your last track on your album being 6 minutes plus is a new thing we're going to see in 2018 pushed by executives and shit. Just curiosity, wondering if it's a thing. So if it is a thing, we can go back to this recording and remember it. I like to say 4.25 because it's really good, but it's really different. It's a really cool evolution, almost here's what's to come next. I've moved to this point, and it makes me really curious to see what's next, but I don't really think – I think the song was a little bit longer than it needed to be, and otherwise it's good.
Yeah, the one other thing I wanted to mention about it was this is another line I really loved. Self-made, well-paid. I'm from where they tell you never to touch the shell case. I'm from where they teach you never to trust a pale face. Man.
Yeah, those lines are hard to ignore when you hear them, especially with my pale face.
Yeah, fuck. And the shell case too, man. Just this idea
I never even thought of that. It's just when you realize it, because if you touch a random shell case, you might be implicated in a murder that you have nothing to do with.
Right.
So protect yourself. But there's not even shell cases in my neighborhood to even have that consideration.
Right. It's fucked. Anyway, the emotional content of the song I thought hit pretty hard, and I thought the beat did a good job of being kind of less of a beat and more of an accompaniment that suited the vocals, and I liked it to that effect. I gave this a 4.3.
Cool. So I guess that we're gonna end up. Honestly, for those of you who wanted us to talk about the bonus tracks, I felt that personally, at least the next one, the double up, was a little bit of a detraction, and for an experiment, we felt like let's just do it as the album as it's supposed to be. Let's not waste time talking about the bonus tracks, which, to my opinion, neither of the bonus tracks fit the album. They made sense to not be on this project. Not to say that they're not good songs, but they didn't fit the project. So I accept them as bonus tracks. I don't accept them as parts of the album. So anyways, fuck it. I felt it would lower my album grade by having them there personally, and I didn't want to do that, which maybe seems impartial, and we'll see. Let us know in the comments. Do you think we should exclusively hit up bonus tracks? Do you think we should exclusively ignore them? How do you feel about that? Do you feel like the more the merrier? That's a curiosity. But for this album, without the bonus tracks, I'm giving it like a 4.41. It is a really honest, potent, amazing album. There are so many songs here that I dug, whether it's Victory Lap, fucking opening it up strong. Last time I checked was amazing. Young was amazing. Young word. Dedication was amazing. Blue Aces 2 was fucking Succa Proof. I mean, I go through the list. I could listen to the project as a whole, and then I got like half the album I think is like just fucking worth throwing on random one day and having it come on. It would bring joy to my life. That's a solid project, a solid start. It gives me a lot of faith for what 2018 is going to bring in music. Makes me excited to see what mainstream rap is going to be like this year. You know, it seems cool. Like last year, culture defined it. What if this is what's defining the next year of music? Is all I'm saying. That's cool. Anyway, how did you feel as a whole?
I like this project as a whole. I feel like, you know, when I think about it as a whole, what I love about it is this kind of thematic consistency throughout the album. But what I'm not so hot on is it feels like there's a lot of extra fluff. It feels like there's a lot of songs that could have been cut. And I think the album would be better without some of the songs on it, or if they were just, you know, cleaned up a bit. I think that's my biggest issue with it. But where it shines, it really shines.
Super shines.
But given its current state, I'd give this a 4.1. I enjoyed this album, and I would go back to it.
Awesome. So thank you all for watching. What's more important than our opinions, honestly, is your opinions.
Your porn.
Yeah, your opinions. I mean, your porn is probably lovely, but I don't think we should talk about that here or now. Wink, wink. But your opinions are amazing. Please put that into the comments, how you feel about it, how you feel about this album, how you feel about your porn, how you feel about everything going on.
How is your porn? Let us know in the comments below. How is your porn?
Do you make homemade porn? Okay, we're gonna just lost all fucking flagged for appropriateness. That's okay. You guys are awesome. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this because your comments are super motivational. We read them. Some of you criticize. Some of you love us. Fucking some of you like Gio saw Kendrick Lamar in Frankfurt last night, and that was fucking amazing to hear about. And I want to hear about your experiences because it makes this more of a community, unless a couple people on some couches shitting or on albums or praising albums or whatever, because it's more than that. We want to look at the art of the album and make it about like good albums again. Let's focus. Let's understand and shit. Anyway, I'm just rambling. Thank you. You're amazing. You're all great. We'll see you next week with another one. Let us know what you think is worth covering in the near future. Peace.
Peace, Internet.